Why is it so hard to escape poverty? Overcoming poverty is not a gesture of charity. It's an act of justice. I agree with that.
Imagine that you've been unemployed and seeking work for months. Government benefit programs have helped you cover rent, utilities, and food.
Food stamps.
But you're barely getting by. Finally, you hear back about a job application. You receive your first paycheck in months, and things seem to be turning around, but there's a catch. Your new job pays just enough to disqualify you from the benefit programs and not enough to cover the same costs. To make things worse, you have to pay for transportation to work and childcare while you're at the office. Somehow, you have less money now than when you were unemployed.
That's crazy.
Let's call this demoralizing situation the welfare trap, one of the many different poverty traps affecting millions of people around the world. Poverty traps are economic and environmental circumstances that reinforce themselves, perpetuating poverty for generations. Some poverty traps are tied to an individual's circumstances, like a lack of access to healthy food or education. Others can affect entire nations, such as cycles of corrupt government or climate change.
You just have to make enough money so you can get by enough just so you can come back to work the next day and keep perpetuating that system, because that's the only way it works. Capitalism is only going to work if there is so many people in the bottom of the pyramid, and I said that many times already, so that only a fraction of people can be at the top with millions of dollars. That's how the system works. Because like money is scarce. People say, "Oh, there's a whole bunch of abundance." No, there isn't. There isn't. For capitalism to work, it needs to be finite, so that the richest people can have most of the money, right? And then and it's only a fraction of people, right? Just the exception to the rule. And most people, 90% of people, they're gonna be working their ass off to get by because money is finite. That's the only way it works. That's the only way it works, because somebody's gonna have to do the lower paying jobs.
But the cruel irony of welfare traps in particular is that they stem from the very policies designed to battle poverty. Most societies throughout history employed some strategies to help people in poverty meet basic needs. Before the 20th century, religious groups and private charities often led such initiatives. Today, these are called welfare programs, and they usually take the form of government-provided subsidies for housing, food, energy, and healthcare. Typically, these programs are means-tested, meaning that only people who fall below a certain income level are eligible for benefits. This policy is designed to ensure aid goes to those who need it most, but it also means people lose access as soon as they earn more than the qualification threshold, regardless of whether or not they're financially stable enough to stay there. This vicious cycle is harmful to both those in poverty and those outside of it. Mainstream economic models assume people are rational actors who weigh the cost and benefits of their options and choose the most advantageous path forward. If those in poverty know they'll gain no net benefit from working, they're incentivized to remain on government assistance. Of course, people work for many reasons, including societal norms and personal values. But income
Exactly, because if you're just gonna be unemployed for the rest of your life and not do anything forever, then it's a tough situation as well.
is a major incentive to pursuing employment. And when less people take on new jobs, the economy slows down, keeping people in poverty and potentially pushing people on the cusp of poverty over the edge. Some have suggested this feedback loop could be removed by eliminating government assistance programs altogether. But most agree this solution is neither realistic nor humane. So how can we redesign benefits in a way that doesn't penalize people for working? Many countries have tried different ways to circumvent this problem. Some allow people to continue receiving benefits for a given period after finding a job, while others phase out benefits gradually as income increases. These policies still remove some financial incentive to work, but the risk of a welfare trap is lower. Other governments provide benefits like education, childcare, or medical care, equally across all their citizens.
Let me see what they're saying. Rule number 1: don't have children unless you have rational confidence that they can be raised without paying to them or yourself. Easier said than done, I know, but nonetheless true. Yeah, I agree with it here, but like the reality, guys, is that when I was younger, I used to say that as well, and Of course, I still agree with that, but the reality is much more different than this. Because, for example, say you are a woman and then you want to give birth to a child, and now you're in your 30s and you haven't made it yet, or mid 30s, almost 40s. You haven't made it yet, and that's what's gonna happen to a lot of people. Because like if you're just gonna wait for you to be financially stable, which can take your whole life, and this is your dream, it's hard for you to wait, your whole entire life for you to have that dream, which is having a family. For example, I don't have kids, for example, but if I was one of this type of person, it is hard for somebody to just tell me like, hey, wait for you until you're financially stable. But you can be like 35 years old, still grinding your ass and not be financially stable, and then you're gonna be waiting for 5 more years, and the next thing you know, you're 50 years old, you still haven't made it yet. And it's tough. Like that being said, of course, if you have a child in this circumstance, it's gonna make your life harder and your child's life harder. But that's what I'm saying. Like you cannot just tell people what they should do, because really they themselves know how much they've been dealing with life, what actually hurts them. And so it's really hard for us to just say, oh, if everybody was to do this, then this would have happened, because reality is a little bit more complicated than that. But I still agree with it. Besides everything I said, I still agree with that, right? Someone on Red Note said the system is not broken, because like if you say a statement like that, if you have a statement like that, you're actually applying that you have to wait for perfect conditions for you to do something, but the perfect conditions may never exist. This is just a reality, especially if you're living in a third world country. I mean, it can take you generations for you to change your situation and become financially independent. If you don't hit something, if you don't graduate and climb the corporate ladder and everything work out your way, there's so many things that can happen in the middle of this story. Like example, you can meet up with someone, and then this person can take your life away from you, or maybe you can get sick, or you may lose a family member, and then you become mentally ill again, and then you make a whole bunch of mistakes, because that's what life happens, right? Like what we say is like we want things to go away, but life usually is more complicated than that. That's why there's nothing perfect, right? But with that being said, there's consequences to everything. Having assistance slowly phase as income increases having assistance slowly phase out as income increases makes the most sense to me. Okay, it's honestly insane that you can be in poverty 1 second, getting assistance, barely getting by, and then get a mere 20 cents rates, and all of a sudden you make too much, and all the assistance is gone, leaving you in a worse spot. Exactly. That's how everything goes. That's how everything goes. Think about it. For example, say you're a person that unfortunately you had a series of misfortune events, and now you're sitting around in your like late 30s, late 40s, and then you had both of your parents like killed or whatever, and then you had a relationship, and now you lost your relationship, and everything you've ever done kind of fell apart, and the only thing you have right now is nobody, and then your dream is having a child, right? And like in your late 40s, how are you going to tell this person who doesn't have anybody, who's still on poverty, to just wait for them to be financially stable, for example, to have a child? It's really complicated. Some of these people, they need a reason to live. A lot of people, I feel like they have kids because they need a reason to live. Because if it wasn't for their kids, they probably wouldn't even be alive anymore, because the world's cruel, right? So like in a perfect world, everything is easy. But like I said, it's not. It really isn't, guys. Imagine that you've been unemployed. Oh no need for imagination there. This is reality for me. I don't have to imagine the scenario. I live in SSI and I can't get a job because I'm disabled and I'm getting assistance for it. But it's still hard. If I get a too good paying job, then I won't get any government assistance. And if I don't get a well paying job, then I still need government assistance. And for something that I can control, my disability. Yeah, it's tough, guys. It's tough. The reality is tough. Like you can be, say you can be financially stable for 20 years, and then all of a sudden you make a bad investment, and then you lose all of your money. It's hard for you to get back from it. So some mistakes that you make, it's hard for you to recover from it. So there's a lot of things involved. That's why I don't judge people anymore, because I don't know what people go through on a daily basis, right?
One proposed solution takes this idea of universal benefits even further. A universal basic income would provide a fixed benefit to all members of society, regardless of wealth or employment status. This is the only known policy that could entirely remove welfare traps, since any earned wages would supplement the benefit rather than replace it. In fact, by creating a stable income floor below which no one can fall, basic income might prevent people from falling into poverty in the first place. Numerous economists and thinkers have championed this idea since the 18th century. But for now, universal basic income remains largely hypothetical.
Universal basic income. That's what's going to happen when robots take all their jobs.
Although it's been tried in some places on a limited scale, these local experiments don't tell us much about how the policy would play out across an entire nation or a planet. Whatever strategy governments pursue, solving the welfare trap requires respecting people's agency and autonomy. Only by empowering individuals to create long-term change in their lives and communities can we begin to break the cycle of poverty.
We are never going to break the cycle of poverty. It's like safe. If you can get safe from it, best, like, good luck to you. Best of luck to you. But the vast majority of people, they will never get off poverty, because that's what we need. Capitalism needs, they feed off of that, so that only a fraction of people, again, 10% of humans in the world, or, you know, the more privileged person, or more privileged people, they're going to have access to unlimited resources, right? Resources. It's fucked up, man. That's the system we're trapped in, right? We're trapped in this fucking system.
Agency is a type of power that...
Let me see another comment. I'm not seeing another comment. Let's see. This is a reality for me. Okay, this one I already saw. That's why we need more employee benefits too. Laws that assure money for transportation, healthcare, and food for workers given by the employers. Yeah, he's got a point here. It's not a money problem, it's a distribution problem. Okay. 210. Nobody I know would work a full-time job if they didn't absolutely have to. I mean, I know a lot of people that they would still work a job because they like what they do. It's just that most of us, unfortunately, we have to be trapped in something that we don't like, because we have no other choice, right? Because if you just think about it, just staying at home and not doing anything at all, at some point, well, first off, you're living off of government assistance, which is like the limit of the limit. So you're barely getting by. And secondly, you're not like doing something with your life, which I think, in my personal opinion, is what gives you the reason for you to keep going, to do something, instead of just, you know, waking up and eating and then going to sleep again and not doing anything more than that, right? Okay, another one. Enjoy the narration, animation, and breakdown of the information. Thank you. Oh, let me know what you guys think. I'm very new to this this topic. Okay, I'm trying to figure it out, and it's not my native language as well. I use this as an excuse, but let me know what you think. Okay, I always like reflecting on these videos and these very complex videos about the world and people and etc. So let me know what you think. Okay, see you in the next one. Bye.